I never thought a simple security camera would expose 15 years of lies, manipulation, and betrayal. But sometimes the truth has a way of revealing itself when you least expect it. My name is Margaret Washington. I'm 52 years old, and I'm the Vice President of Technology Solutions at Meridian Corp here in Atlanta. For the past 15 years, I've been what my family likes to call the responsible one, which really means I've been their personal ATM. It all started 10 years after my father died. Mom was struggling. Derek was fresh out of college with dreams bigger than his bank account, and I had just gotten my big promotion. I thought I was being a good daughter, a good sister. I thought family meant sacrifice. I was wrong about a lot of things. Last Tuesday, I made a decision that would change everything. I was expecting my monthly family dinner. The one where Mom subtly hints about her needs and Derek presents his latest business opportunity. But this time, something felt different. Maybe it was the way Derek had been texting me all week, or how Mom kept mentioning that my house was so big for just one person. Whatever it was, I decided to install a few security cameras. I'm not paranoid by nature, but 15 years in corporate technology teaches you to document everything. I set up 3 cameras, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, and one by the front door. Nothing fancy, just basic nanny cams that sync to my phone. I told myself it was for general security, but deep down, I think I knew something was coming. The installation took about an hour. I tested everything, made sure the footage was clear, and then I went to my home office to review some contracts for work. That's when it happened. At exactly 4:47 p.m., 10 minutes after I activated the system, I heard something that made my blood run cold. My phone buzzed with a motion alert from the front door camera. I opened the app expecting to see the UPS guy, or maybe a neighbor, but instead, I saw my mother's silver Lexus, the one I'd been making payments on for 3 years, pulling into my driveway. She wasn't supposed to be here until 6:30. I watched through the camera as Mom got out of the car, followed by Derek. They were early, which was unusual. Mom never arrives anywhere early. She considers punctuality a sign of desperation. But there they were, walking up to my front door, and that's when I heard it. Derek leaned close to the door and whispered, "Margaret," like he was testing to see if I was home. Not knocking, not ringing the doorbell, just whispering my name like some kind of secret signal. The camera picked up every word, every facial expression, every gesture. "Is she here?" Mom asked, looking around nervously. Her car's in the garage, but the lights are off upstairs. She's probably in that office of hers, working like always. Derek replied with a laugh that didn't sound friendly at all. I sat frozen in my office chair, watching my own family through a camera, feeling like I was spying on strangers. But I couldn't look away. There was something in their body language, something in the way they were looking at my house, that made my stomach turn. "Remember," Mom said, adjusting her designer purse, "the one I bought her for Christmas. We need to be strategic about this. She's getting suspicious about the money requests. We need to make her think this is her idea." "Don't worry," Derek said, running his hand through his hair. "I've got the business plan printed out, the investor meeting scheduled for Friday. Once she sees the potential return on investment, she'll hand over the equity in this place without a second thought. Equity in my house." I felt my heart rate spike. They were talking about MY House like it was some kind of commodity they could trade. "And if she doesn't?" Mom asked. Derek shrugged. Then we remind her about family loyalty, about how Dad would want her to help her little brother, about how lonely she is in this big house, how she could downsize to something more practical. They were standing on MY porch, planning to manipulate me into giving up MY home, using MY dead father's memory as leverage. I felt something inside me snap, not break, but snap into sharp, clear focus. I watched them ring the doorbell, watched them arrange their faces into warm, loving expressions. Derek straightened his shirt, and Mom touched up her lipstick. They were putting on a performance, and I was their audience of one. "Margaret, honey," Mom called out as I opened the door, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "We were in the neighborhood and thought we'd come by early. Hope you don't mind." "Of course not," I said, stepping aside to let them in. "You know you're always welcome." But as I said those words, I was thinking about the camera footage, about their whispered conversations, about 15 years of family loyalty that had apparently been a one-way street. Derek hugged me, and for the first time, I noticed how his embrace felt calculated, like he was measuring my mood, gauging my receptiveness. "You look great, Maggie," he said, using the nickname he knew I hated. "Success suits you." "Thanks," I replied, leading them to the living room where I knew the camera would capture every word. "Can I get you anything? Coffee? Wine?" "Wine sounds perfect," Mom said, settling into my leather sofa like she owned it. "We have so much to catch up on." I poured 3 glasses of my best Cabernet, the bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion. Looking back, I realize it was special. It was the last time I'd pour wine for my family as their devoted ATM. "So," Derek said, leaning forward with that earnest expression he'd perfected over the years, "I wanted to talk to you about an incredible opportunity that's come my way." And there it was, the pitch, the reason for the early arrival, the whispered strategy session, the performance at my front door. I took a sip of wine and prepared to hear my brother try to sell me my own house. "I'm listening," I said, even though I already knew every word he was about to say. Derek pulled out a folder, professional looking, with charts and graphs, and all the visual aids that were supposed to make me believe this wasn't just another one of his schemes. "I've been selected to partner with Premium Fitness Solutions to open an exclusive training facility here in Buckhead. We're talking about a 20,000 square foot space with state-of-the-art equipment, personal training suites, even a juice bar, and spa services." I nodded, playing my part in their little drama. "Sounds expensive." "It is," he admitted, "but the profit projections are incredible. We're looking at a 7-figure annual revenue within 2 years. The problem is, I need to show financial backing to secure the location. The investors want to see liquid assets, proof that I have skin in the game." "Here it comes," I thought. "I know this is a big ask," Derek continued, glancing at Mom for support, "but I was hoping you might consider leveraging some of the equity in this beautiful house of yours. Not selling it," he added quickly, "just taking out a loan against it. $800,000 should be enough to get everything started. $800,000, the approximate value of my entire house." He wasn't asking for a loan against my house. He was asking for my house. That's quite a lot of money, Derek," I said carefully. Mom leaned forward, right on cue. "Honey, I know it sounds scary, but think about it. You're rattling around in this big house all by yourself. Maybe this is the universe telling you it's time to downsize, to invest in family, to help your brother build something meaningful." The universe. Right. The universe that had been whispering at my front door 10 minutes ago. I've actually been thinking the same thing. I lied smoothly. "This house is pretty big for one person." Derek's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? You'd consider it?" "I'd need to see the business plan," I said, "and I'd want to meet these investors." "Of course," Derek practically shouted. "I've got a meeting set up for this Friday at 2 p.m. You could come with me, see the whole operation." "Friday at 2, I repeated, making a mental note. "Where?" "The Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead, Conference Room B. These guys are serious players. Maggie, this could change everything for our family." Our family, the family that had been plotting against me on my own front porch 20 minutes ago. "I'll think about it," I said, "But Derek, I need you to understand. This would be everything I have. My entire financial security." "I get that," he said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "And I promise you, I won't let you down. This isn't like the restaurant thing or the consulting business. This is real. The restaurant thing, the consulting business, two previous opportunities that had cost me $65,000 and $43,000 respectively, and had resulted in exactly zero return on investment. Mom stood up and wrapped me in one of her signature hugs, the kind that smelled like expensive perfume and felt like emotional manipulation. "Your father would be so proud of you," she whispered in my ear, "taking care of family like this." Using Dad again, I pulled away and looked at her face, really looked at it. When had the warmth in her eyes been replaced by calculation? "I should probably get dinner started." I said, "You're staying, right?" "Actually," Mom said, exchanging a glance with Derek, "we were thinking of going to that new steakhouse downtown. Our treat, of course." Of course. They'd plant their seed, water it with guilt and family loyalty, and then leave me alone to let it grow. Classic manipulation tactics. Rain check. I asked, "I've got some work to catch up on. And honestly, this whole business plan thing has given me a lot to think about." "Absolutely," Derek said, standing up. "Take all the time you need. Just remember, this opportunity won't wait forever. The investors are looking at other locations too." Creating urgency. Another classic tactic. I walked them to the door, hugged them goodbye, and watched them drive away in Mom's Lexus. Then I went straight to my home office and opened my laptop. For the next 3 hours, I did something I should have done years ago. I pulled up every bank statement, every credit card bill, every loan document, every financial record I had for the past 15 years. I created a spreadsheet, a detailed, color-coded forensic accounting of exactly how much money I'd spent on my family. The numbers were staggering. Beverly, Washington, my dear mother, had cost me $1.2 million over 15 years. The house I'd bought her in 2018, $450,000. The car payments, $87,000. The monthly allowance for groceries and expenses, $3,600 a month for 8 years, totaling $346,000. The vacations to Europe, the spa treatments, the designer clothes, the jewelry, it all added up to a fortune that could have funded my own retirement twice over. Derek's tab was smaller, but more painful because it represented pure waste. $412,000 in investments and opportunities that had yielded absolutely nothing. The private college tuition I'd paid because he needed a degree from a good school. The seed money for the restaurant that closed after 6 months. The consulting business that existed only on paper. The credit cards I'd paid off. The rent I'd covered when he was between jobs. $1.6 million. That's what 15 years of being a good daughter and good sister had cost me. But it wasn't just the money. It was the opportunity cost, the investments I didn't make, the trips I didn't take, the risks I didn't take in my own career because I needed to maintain a steady income for them, the relationships I didn't pursue because I was always available for family emergencies. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the numbers on my screen. 15 years of financial records, and not once had either of them paid me back, sent me a thank you card, or even acknowledged that my generosity might have come at a personal cost. My phone buzzed with another alert from the security cameras. I'd forgotten they were still recording. I opened the app and saw Derek's car pulling back into my driveway. It was almost 11 p.m. What was he doing here? I watched through the front door camera as Derek got out of his car and looked around nervously. He wasn't coming to the door. Instead, he walked around to the side of my house, toward my home office window. What the hell? I switched to the living room camera, which had a partial view of the side yard. Derek was crouched beneath my office window, talking on his phone in urgent, hushed tones. "She's definitely considering it," he was saying, "but we need to move fast. She's starting to ask the right questions." I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but Derek's responses told me everything I needed to know. No, she doesn't know about the loan applications. I used her social security number, but the paperwork shows me as the primary contact. Yeah, I know it's risky, but what choice do I have? My social security number. Derek had been using my identity for loan applications without my knowledge. The gym investors are expecting a wire transfer by Monday, Derek continued. If I don't come through, they're going to involve some very unforgiving people. No, I can't ask Mom for more. She's already liquidated everything. She can. Margaret is our only option. I grabbed my phone and started recording Derek's conversation through the window. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. This was fraud. "Listen," Derek said, his voice getting more desperate. "I've already told these guys that the money is coming. They've signed contracts, put down deposits. If Margaret doesn't come through, I'm not just talking about a failed business. I'm talking about broken kneecaps." He'd gotten involved with criminals. My baby brother, the golden child, had gotten in so deep with dangerous people that he was willing to steal my identity and my house to save his own skin. Derek ended the call and stood there for a moment, looking up at my dark office window. For a second, I thought he might see me, but then he walked back to his car and drove away. I sat in my office until dawn, watching the recorded footage over and over, taking screenshots, documenting everything. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Instead of going to the office, I drove to my bank and requested copies of all account activity related to my Social Security number. Then I went to my lawyer's office. Richard Chun had been my attorney for 8 years, handling everything from my employment contracts to my will. He was discreet, thorough, and expensive, which made him perfect for what I needed. "Margaret," he said, reviewing the documents I brought him, "this is extensive. Your brother has been using your information to secure loans totaling almost $200,000. If you didn't authorize these applications, this is identity theft." "I didn't authorize anything," I said, "and I want to know what my options are." Richard adjusted his glasses and pulled up something on his computer. "Well, you can file a police report for identity theft. You can dispute the loans with the credit agencies. And you can sue your brother for damages. What about the property I've purchased for my mother? The house, the car? Are they in your name or hers?" "Both are in my name. I've been making all the payments, but the deeds and titles list me as the owner." Richard nodded slowly. "Then legally, those assets belong to you. You have the right to sell them, refinance them, or reclaim them at any time. And the monthly payments I've been making to her, if there's no written agreement specifying that these are loans, then legally they're gifts. She has no obligation to repay them, but she also has no legal claim to continued payments." I felt something like relief flooding through me. For 15 years, I'd been operating under the assumption that family obligations were legally binding, that I owed them something beyond basic human decency. "Richard," I said, "I want you to prepare papers to reclaim the house and car. I also want to file a police report about the identity theft. And I want to know if there's any way to protect myself from future financial manipulation. I can draft a cease and desist letter," he said, "and we can set up trusts or other legal barriers to prevent unauthorized use of your assets. But, Margaret, are you sure about this? Once we start this process, there's no going back. Your family relationships will be permanently altered." I thought about Derek whispering my name at the front door. I thought about Mom calling me their personal vaca laitera, their personal cash cow. I thought about 15 years of putting their needs before my own. I'm sure, I said. That afternoon, I drove to the Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead. I had no intention of attending Derek's investor meeting, but I wanted to see these people he'd gotten involved with. I wanted to understand the scope of the problem. The hotel lobby was busy with typical business travelers, but I spotted Derek immediately. He was pacing near the elevator, checking his phone every few seconds, wearing a suit I'd probably paid for. At exactly 2 p.m., 3 men in expensive suits approached him. I positioned myself behind a marble column where I could observe without being seen. The men didn't look like fitness industry investors. They looked like the kind of people who collected debts with more than paperwork. The conversation was brief and heated. I couldn't hear the words, but Derek's body language told the whole story. He was pleading, gesturing frantically, sweating despite the air conditioning. The largest of the 3 men leaned close and said something that made Derek go pale. Then they left, and Derek collapsed into a lobby chair like all the air had gone out of him. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Instead, I took photos with my phone and left the hotel. I had one more stop to make. Mom's house. My house, technically, was in Marietta, about 30 minutes north of Atlanta. It was a beautiful 3-bedroom colonial with a manicured lawn and a circular driveway. I bought it for her 8 years ago when she said she needed somewhere peaceful to grow old gracefully. I used my key, I'd kept one for emergencies, and let myself in. The house smelled like expensive candles and fresh flowers. Mom had always been particular about ambience. I walked through the rooms, taking inventory of everything I'd paid for over the years. The furniture, the artwork, the electronics, I'd bought most of it as birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, or just because she'd mentioned wanting something. In her home office, I found something that made me sit down hard in her desk chair. Financial documents. Lots of them. Mom had been keeping meticulous records of every dollar I'd spent on her and Derek. Not for gratitude or accountability, but for planning. There were projections for how much more she could expect from me over the next 10 years. There were calculations about my salary increases and bonus potential. There were even notes about my emotional triggers, ways to manipulate me into giving more. One page was titled Margaret's Weak Points and included items like mentions of Dad's expectations, implications that she's selfish for having money while family struggles, reminders of childhood sacrifices, paying for her college, etc., guilt about being single/childless, all you have is money, fear of family abandonment. Another page listed escalation strategies. Phase 1, subtle hints and guilt. Phase 2, direct requests with emotional manipulation. Phase 3, ultimatums and family loyalty tests. Phase 4, public embarrassment/family exclusion threats. They had been playing me like a chess game, and I'd been too naive to see the board. The final document was titled Derek's Exit Strategy and outlined their plan to get me to liquidate my house, move in with Mom temporarily, and use the money to fund Derek's gym while supporting both of them indefinitely. I photographed every page, every calculation, every manipulation tactic they'd documented. Then I locked the house and drove home. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in 15 years. I cooked dinner for one. I opened a bottle of wine. A good bottle, one I'd been saving, and I sat in my living room reviewing everything I'd learned. My phone rang at 8:30 p.m. Derek. "Hey, Maggie," he said, and I could hear the strain in his voice. "I was wondering if you'd had a chance to think about the gym opportunity." "I have," I said, "and I have some questions." "Great. Fire away. How much money do you owe these investors?" Silence. "Derek, how much?" "It's complicated. There are some upfront costs, and I may have gotten a little ahead of myself with the commitments, but how much? 200,000. But Margaret, if you don't help me, these aren't the kind of people who just write off debt. I know, I said. I saw them today. You what? I was at the Ritz-Carlton. I saw your meeting. Derek, these men aren't investors. They're loan sharks. You were spying on me? The irony wasn't lost on me, about as much as you and Mom were spying on me when you showed up early yesterday, whispering at my door, planning how to manipulate me into giving you my house. Another silence, longer this time. Margaret, I can explain. Can you explain why you've been using my social security number to apply for loans? How did you? Can you explain why Mom has a detailed file about my emotional weak points and your exit strategy? You went through her house. My house, Derek. The house I bought, that I pay for, that's legally in my name. I heard him take a shaky breath. Okay, look, maybe we got a little carried away with the planning, but everything we did was for family. We were trying to help you see what's best for everyone. What's best for everyone, or what's best for you and Mom. Don't be like this, Maggie. You know we love you. Do you? Because your loan shark buddies seem to think you're getting a wire transfer from me on Monday. Did you promise them my money before you even asked me for it? I had to show good faith. These people don't wait around for family discussions. So, you committed MY money to criminals without MY permission? I knew you'd come through. You always come through for family. And there it was, the assumption that had governed 15 years of my life. Derek knew I'd come through because I always came through. Not because I wanted to, not because it made financial sense, but because that's what I did. I was the responsible one. I was the reliable one. I was the one who sacrificed for family. Derek, I said quietly, I need you to listen very carefully. Okay, I'm not giving you my house. I'm not giving you any more money. In fact, I want you to think very carefully about how you're going to repay the $200,000 you borrowed using my identity without my permission. Margaret, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You've been committing identity theft. Mom has been documenting manipulation tactics. And both of you have been treating me like your personal bank account for 15 years. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Derek, family doesn't manipulate each other. Family doesn't whisper at doorsteps planning emotional manipulation. How did you? Derek started, then stopped. Never mind. Margaret, please. If you don't help me, I don't know what these guys will do. That's your problem to solve. My problem? Margaret, I'm your brother. And I'm your sister, which apparently makes me your victim, not your family. I hung up. 10 minutes later, Mom called. Margaret Elizabeth Washington, she said in her sternest voice. What is this nonsense Derek is telling me about you refusing to help? Hello, Mom. Don't hello, Mommy. Your brother is in serious trouble, and you're being selfish. Selfish? Yes, selfish. You have more money than you know what to do with, rattling around in that big house, spending your life working instead of taking care of family. This is your chance to do something meaningful with your resources. You mean like the $1.2 million I've already spent on you? Silence. That's right, Mom. I added it up. 15 years, $1.2 million. Your house, your car, your living expenses, your vacations. And Derek's gotten about $400,000 for his various failed ventures. We never asked you to keep track. No, but you did. I found your files, Mom. The calculations, the projections, the manipulation strategies. Margaret's weak points? Really? I don't know what you're talking about. Phase 1, subtle hints and guilt. Phase 2, direct requests with emotional manipulation. Phase 3, ultimatums and family loyalty tests. Sound familiar? A long pause. Those were just notes, ideas. Those were battle plans, Mom. 15 years of battle plans to get money out of me. Everything we did was out of love. Love doesn't document emotional weak points, Mom. Love doesn't whisper manipulation strategies at someone's front door. You recorded us. I have security cameras, which captured you and Derek discussing how to manipulate me into giving up my house before you even knocked on my door. Margaret, sweetheart, I think you're misunderstanding. Am I misunderstanding Derek's identity theft? Am I misunderstanding your detailed files on how to emotionally manipulate me? Am I misunderstanding 15 years of taking my money while calling me your personal cash cow? You're what? Don't play dumb, Mom. I heard you. Nosa vaca litera particular. Our personal cash cow. Is that really how you see me? Another long silence. Margaret, she said finally, her voice smaller now, you have to understand. We never meant for it to seem calculating. We needed help, and you were successful, and you thought I was too stupid to notice? We thought you were happy to help family. I was happy to help family, Mom. Past tense. But what you and Derek have been doing isn't family. It's fraud and manipulation. So what are you saying? I'm saying it's over. The monthly payments, the emergency funds, the investments in Derek's schemes, all of it, done. Margaret, you can't just abandon your family. I'm not abandoning anyone, Mom. I'm stopping the financial abuse. There's a difference. Financial abuse? How dare you? How dare I what? How dare I notice that you've been systematically draining my resources while documenting the best ways to manipulate me? How dare I object to Derek using my social security number to borrow money from criminals? Derek made a mistake. Derek committed identity theft multiple times, and you helped him plan it. I did no such thing. Your files say otherwise, Mom. Your detailed, calculated, documented files. I heard her take a shaky breath. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Gone was the maternal authority, the guilt-inducing disappointment. What remained sounded small and scared. What do you want from us? I want Derek to figure out how to handle his debt without involving me. I want you both to stop using my money as your safety net. And I want some time to think about whether this family relationship is salvageable. Margaret, please. We made mistakes, but we can fix this. 15 years of mistakes, Mom. 15 years of taking my money while planning how to take more. That's not a mistake. That's a lifestyle. What about Derek? What about the people he owes money to? Derek is 42 years old. He needs to figure out how to handle his own problems. They'll hurt him. Then maybe he shouldn't have borrowed money from criminals using my identity. Margaret, Mom, I've spent 15 years cleaning up Derek's messes and funding your lifestyle. I'm done. Derek needs to be an adult, and you need to figure out how to live within your means. And if we can't, then you'll figure it out the same way millions of other people figure it out, by working, budgeting, and making adult decisions. You're really going to abandon us. I'm going to stop enabling you. There's a difference. I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I called Richard and asked him to expedite the legal proceedings. I wanted the house and car reclaimed within the week. I also asked him to file the identity theft report and to send cease and desist letters to both Mom and Derek. Are you certain about this timeline? Richard asked. It's quite aggressive. I'm certain. They've had 15 years to treat me with respect. I'm not giving them 15 more years to figure it out. That afternoon, I went back to work. It felt strange, sitting in my corner office, attending meetings about budget allocations and technology implementations, knowing that my entire personal life was imploding, but it also felt normal in a way that surprised me. Work had always been my refuge, the place where I was valued for my skills rather than my bank account. My assistant knocked on my door around 3 p.m. "Margaret, there's a Derek Washington here to see you. He says he's your brother." I could have had security escort him out. Instead, I decided to face him. "Send him in." Derek looked terrible. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his shirt was wrinkled, and he had the kind of desperate energy that comes from not sleeping. "Maggie," he said, closing my office door behind him, "we need to talk." "I'm at work, Derek." "I know, but this can't wait. Those guys, they're not patient people." "Sit down." He sat in the chair across from my desk, looking around my office like he was seeing it for the first time. Awards on the walls, photos from corporate events, evidence of the career I'd built while funding his failures. "Nice office," he said weakly. "Derek, what do you want?" "I want to make a deal." "I'm listening." What if I sign something promising to pay you back? All of it. Every dollar you've spent on me over the years. With interest. With what money? I'll get a job. A real job. I'll work 2 jobs if I have to. "Derek, you owe criminals $200,000 that you borrowed using my identity. Even if I believed you'd actually get a job and stick with it, how long do you think these people will wait for you to earn minimum wage payments?" "I don't know. Maybe if you could just help me this one last time." "No. Margaret, please. I'm begging you." "The answer is no." "Then what am I supposed to do?" "I don't know. Derek, figure it out." He stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. "Figure it out. Margaret, these are dangerous people. Then you shouldn't have borrowed money from them." "I didn't have a choice." "You had choices, Derek. You chose to lie to me about the nature of your investors. You chose to use my social security number without permission. You chose to promise them my money before asking me for it. Those were all choices. I was trying to build something. I was trying to make something of myself. By stealing from me? I wasn't stealing. I was borrowing without permission, using my identity. That's theft, Derek." He put his head in his hands. "I'm scared, Maggie." And for a moment, I felt the old instinct kick in, the urge to comfort him, to fix his problems, to be the responsible big sister who made everything okay. But then I thought about the whispered conversation at my front door, about Mom's files, about 15 years of being their personal ATM. "I know you're scared," I said, "but I can't fix this for you." "Can or won't?" "Both." He looked up at me, and I saw something in his face I'd never seen before, real recognition of who I was beyond my bank account. "You've changed." "No, Derek. I've just stopped pretending that being family means I owe you everything I have." "So that's it? You're just going to let them hurt me?" "I'm going to let you handle your own problems like an adult." "And Mom, you're really going to kick her out of her house?" "It's my house, Derek. It's always been my house. I've just been letting her live in it. Same difference." "No, it's not. If it were her house, she could make decisions about it. But it's my house, which means I get to decide who lives there. This is unbelievable. 15 years of family, and you're throwing it all away over money." "I'm not throwing anything away over money, Derek. I'm ending 15 years of financial abuse disguised as family obligation." "Financial abuse? Jesus, Margaret, we're not criminals. We're your family. You borrowed money using my identity without my permission. In most states, that's considered criminal fraud. I was desperate. And I was generous. But generosity isn't the same thing as stupidity, and family isn't the same thing as indentured servitude." Derek stood up abruptly. "Fine. You want to be like this? You want to throw away your family? Fine. But don't come crying to us when you realize how lonely you really are." "Derek." "What?" "I'd rather be alone than be used." He stared at me for a long moment. then walked out without another word. I called my assistant and asked her to hold my calls for the rest of the day. Then I sat in my office and cried, not because I regretted my decision, but because I was grieving the family I thought I had. By Friday morning, Richard had worked his legal magic. The paperwork was ready, the police report had been filed, and I had official documentation of Derek's identity theft. More importantly, I had legal possession of the house and car that were rightfully mine. I drove to Mom's house, my house, at 9 a.m. sharp. I called ahead and told her I was coming, that we needed to discuss the transition. She met me at the door, still in her silk robe, looking older than I'd ever seen her look. "Margaret," she said, stepping aside to let me in, "I've been thinking about our conversation. Mom, I need you to listen carefully. I've legally reclaimed this house. You have 30 days to find alternative living arrangements." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. 30 days. That's the standard notice period in Georgia. I'm actually being generous. Since there's no formal lease agreement, I could ask you to leave immediately. But where am I supposed to go? I don't know, Mom. Where did you live before I bought this house? I was renting a small apartment, but that was 8 years ago. I don't have first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. You'll figure it out. With what money? I don't have savings. Then get a job. Margaret, I'm 68 years old. Who's going to hire me? Walmart, Target, lots of places hire seniors. Or you could apply for Social Security, get senior housing assistance, look into programs for low-income elderly. Low-income elderly? Her voice rose an octave. I am not low-income elderly. Mom, without my financial support, what exactly are you? She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. The reality was settling in. I also need the car keys. I said, The Lexus that I pay for? Yes. But how will I get around? Bus, Uber, ask friends for rides. Figure it out like everyone else does. She went to get the keys, moving slowly like someone in a daze. When she came back, she was crying. Margaret, please, can't we work something out? Some kind of payment plan or reduced support. Or, Mom, for 15 years, I supported you completely while you documented strategies for manipulating me into giving you more. This isn't a negotiation. I know we made mistakes. Mistakes are accidental. What you and Derek did was calculated and intentional. But we're family. Family doesn't treat each other like ATM machines, Mom. She handed me the keys, and I noticed her hands were shaking. What about Derek? What about him? Those people he borrowed from. What if they really hurt him? Then Derek will learn a valuable lesson about borrowing money from criminals. You can't mean that. I absolutely mean that. Derek is a 42-year-old man. If he gets hurt because of his own poor choices, that's on him. He's your brother. He's a grown man who committed identity theft. Being related to me doesn't make him my responsibility. Mom collapsed into her favorite chair, the one I'd bought her 3 years ago. I don't understand what happened to you. You used to be so caring, so generous. I'm still generous, Mom. I'm just not stupid anymore. This isn't generous. Mom, I gave you 15 years and $1.6 million. I funded your entire lifestyle, Derek's failed ventures, and never asked for anything in return except basic respect. Instead, I got manipulation, exploitation, and identity theft. If you think that makes me ungenerous, then we have very different definitions of generosity. She wiped her eyes with a tissue. So this is really it. You're really going to abandon us. I'm really going to stop enabling you. You want to rebuild a relationship with me? Great. Do it without my money. I walked through the house one last time, taking photos for insurance purposes and removing a few personal items I'd left there over the years. In Mom's office, I found that she'd already shredded the manipulation files, but it didn't matter. I had copies of everything. As I was leaving, Mom grabbed my arm. Margaret, wait. What if Derek doesn't figure this out? What if something really bad happens to him? Then you'll go to his funeral, Mom, and you'll know that he died because he chose to steal from family and borrow money from criminals. How can you be so cold? 15 years of practice. I drove away and didn't look back. That afternoon, Derek called me 17 times. I didn't answer. Finally, he left a voicemail. Margaret, it's Derek. Those guys, they came to see me this morning. They're not kidding around. They want their money by Monday, or, look, I'm scared, okay? Really scared. I know you're mad, but I'm your brother. Please don't let them hurt me because of your pride. My pride. Right. I deleted the message. Saturday morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I slept until 10 a.m., made myself a leisurely breakfast, and read a book on my patio. No family emergencies, no guilt trips, no manipulation tactics. Just peace. At noon, my doorbell rang. I checked the security cameras and saw Derek's wife, Sarah, standing on my porch with their 2 kids. I'd always liked Sarah. She was a good mother, worked part-time as a nurse, and had never been part of Derek's schemes. The kids, Emma, 8, and Tyler, 5, were innocent in all this. I opened the door. Hi, Aunt Margaret, Emma said, throwing her arms around my waist. Hey, sweetheart, I said, hugging her back. Hi, Tyler. Hi, Sarah. Sarah looked uncomfortable. Margaret, I'm sorry to bother you. Derek said you two had a fight, but he won't tell me what it's about. He's been acting strange all week. Come in, I said. Kids, there are some cookies in the kitchen if you want to go help yourselves. Emma and Tyler ran off, and Sarah and I sat in my living room. Sarah, I said carefully, how much do you know about Derek's business ventures? Not much. He says he's working on opening a gym, that he's meeting with investors. He's been really stressed about it, staying out late, making a lot of phone calls. She paused. Margaret, is Derek in some kind of trouble? I looked at this woman who'd married my brother, who'd given him 2 beautiful children, who worked nights as a nurse to help support their family while Derek chased his dreams. She deserved to know the truth. Sarah, Derek owes some dangerous people $200,000. He borrowed the money using my social security number without my permission. He's been lying to you, to me, to everyone. The color drained from her face. 200,000? But we don't have that kind of money. We don't have any money. I thought he said the investors were giving him money, not the other way around. The investors are loan sharks. Derek has been trying to get me to sell my house to pay them back. Your house? But this is where you live. Exactly. Sarah, I need you to understand something. I've been supporting Derek financially for 15 years. I've paid for his failed businesses, his credit cards, his living expenses. I'm done. She started crying. What does this mean for me and the kids? It means Derek needs to get a real job and start taking care of his family. But if he owes dangerous people, then he needs to figure out how to handle that without involving me. Sarah wiped her eyes. Margaret, I had no idea about any of this. The money you've been giving him, the loans, none of it. I thought his businesses were just unsuccessful. I believe you. What can I do? Protect yourself and the kids. If Derek really is in danger from these people, you need to think about whether it's safe to be around him right now. Leave Derek. I'm not telling you what to do, Sarah. I'm telling you to think about your safety and your children's safety. She nodded slowly. Will you, if something happens to Derek, will you help with the kids? I looked toward the kitchen, where I could hear Emma and Tyler laughing over cookies. They didn't deserve to suffer, because their father was a criminal. The kids can always come to me, I said. But Sarah, I won't enable Derek anymore. Not directly, not indirectly. I understand. She gathered up Emma and Tyler, both of whom were covered in cookie crumbs and grinning. As they were leaving, Emma hugged me again. I love you, Aunt Margaret, she said. I love you too, sweetheart. After they left, I called Richard. I want to set up a trust fund for Derek's children, I said. Something that will pay for their education and basic needs, but that Derek can't access. How much are you thinking? $200,000. The same amount Derek stole from loan sharks. Interesting symmetry. I want to protect the kids without rewarding Derek's behavior. I'll draw up the papers. Sunday evening, my doorbell rang again. This time it was Mom, carrying a suitcase. I've been evicted from the apartment I was trying to rent, she said without preamble. They ran a credit check and found all the debt Derek accumulated in my name. Derek put debt in your name too? Apparently. Credit cards mostly. $23,000 worth. I stepped aside to let her in, but I didn't offer to let her stay. Mom, you can't live here. I'm not asking to live here permanently, just until I figure things out. No, Margaret, I'm homeless. Your own mother is homeless. Then go to a shelter. A shelter? Yes, Mom. A homeless shelter. They have programs to help people get back on their feet. I am not going to a homeless shelter. Then figure out another solution. What other solution? I don't have money. I don't have credit. I don't have anywhere to go. You have Derek. Derek's hiding from loan sharks. Then you have friends, other family members, church. Margaret, please, just for a few days. No. She stared at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're really going to let your own mother sleep in her car? You don't have a car, Mom? I took it back. Remember? This is unbelievable. Your own mother. My own mother, who spent 15 years documenting how to emotionally manipulate me. My own mother, who helped my brother commit identity theft. My own mother, who called me her personal cash cow. I apologize for that. No, Mom, you didn't. You've never apologized. You've explained, you've justified, you've guilt-tripped, but you've never once said, I'm sorry for what I did to you. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Here's your chance. I said, apologize. Take responsibility. Acknowledge what you did. We made some mistakes in how we approached asking for help. Stop. That's not an apology. That's minimization. Fine. I'm sorry. Are you happy? What are you sorry for? For asking for too much money. Try again. Margaret, I don't understand what you want from me. I want you to acknowledge that you manipulated me, exploited me, and documented strategies for how to get more money out of me. I want you to take responsibility for 15 years of financial abuse. Financial abuse is a very strong term. It's an accurate term. What would you call systematically draining someone's resources while documenting their emotional vulnerabilities? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was small. I was scared. Of what? Of being poor. Of being old and poor and alone. When your father died, I felt so vulnerable. And then you got successful, and it seemed like you could take care of everything. Like I didn't have to worry anymore. At my expense. I didn't think about it that way. Because you didn't want to think about it that way. Maybe. Yes, you're right. It was the first honest thing she'd said in years. Mom, I'm not going to let you stay here tonight, but I will drive you to a women's shelter, and I'll help you apply for the social programs you qualify for. Margaret, that's my offer. Take it or leave it. She took it. The Mercy House Women's Shelter was clean, safe, and staffed by social workers who knew how to help people navigate the system. Mom was embarrassed, angry, and scared, but she went through the intake process. As I was leaving, she grabbed my hand. Margaret, I really am sorry. Not just for asking for money, but for the way we treated you. You deserved better. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Thank you, I said. That means something. Will you visit me? Maybe, if you focus on building a life that doesn't depend on my money. And Derek made his choices. He'll live with the consequences. I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in 15 years, free. Monday morning, I was in my office when my assistant buzzed me. Margaret, there are 2 police officers here to see you. My first thought was Derek. Something had happened to Derek. Send them in. The officers were professional but grim. Ms. Washington, we're here about your brother, Derek Washington. Is he dead? No, ma'am. He's in custody. He was arrested this morning for identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. I sat down hard in my chair. How did you find out? He tried to wire $200,000 from your account to an offshore account. The bank flagged it as suspicious and called us. When we investigated, we found the loan applications he'd filed using your information. What happens now? Well, since you're the victim and you filed the initial police report, the DA will probably offer him a plea deal. But Ms. Washington, we need you to know the people he borrowed money from aren't going to just forget about this because he's in jail. Are you saying I'm in danger? We're saying you should be cautious, change your locks, vary your routine, maybe consider staying somewhere else for a few days. After they left, I called Richard. Derek's been arrested. I said, I heard. Margaret, this is good news for you legally. It validates everything we've filed and makes it impossible for him to claim the identity theft was a misunderstanding. What about Sarah and the kids? They're not legally responsible for Derek's debts, but they might want to consider relocating temporarily just to be safe. I called Sarah immediately. I heard, she said before I could speak. The police came by this morning. Margaret, I don't know what to do. Pack a bag and take the kids to your sister's place in Tennessee. Don't tell anyone where you're going except me and your immediate family. For how long? I don't know. Until this settles down. What about money? I can't just not work. I'll wire you $5,000 today. That should cover expenses for a few weeks. Margaret, I can't take your money. It's not for Derek. It's for Emma and Tyler. They didn't choose this. She started crying. Thank you. Sarah, when Derek gets out of jail, don't take him back until he's proven he can support his family without stealing or lying. You and those kids deserve better. I know. Tuesday, I worked from home and had a security system installed that would make the Pentagon jealous. Wednesday, I got a call from Derek's public defender. Ms. Washington, this is James Mitchell. I'm representing your brother. Okay. He's asked me to reach out to you about a possible resolution to this situation. I'm listening. Derek is willing to plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. He's also willing to sign over any claim to family assets or future financial support from you. What does he want in return? He's hoping you might consider not pursuing the civil case. The criminal charges will result in restitution orders, but a civil judgment could bankrupt him permanently. I thought about Derek sitting in a jail cell, probably scared out of his mind, finally understanding that his actions have consequences. Mr. Mitchell, Derek stole my identity, accumulated debt in my name, and committed fraud. The civil case isn't about money. It's about establishing legal boundaries. I understand, but consider this. Derek has learned his lesson. He's genuinely remorseful, and he's never going to be able to afford to repay you anyway. Then he can be broke and remorseful. Mr. Mitchell, your client spent 15 years treating me like his personal bank account. He can spend the next 15 years understanding that actions have consequences. Ms. Washington, the answer is no. Derek can plead guilty, serve his time, and figure out how to rebuild his life without my money. If he's genuinely remorseful, he'll understand why that's necessary. I hung up. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done since college. I called in sick and went to a spa. I got a massage, a facial, and a manicure. I sat in a quiet room, drinking cucumber water and reading a novel. It felt like awakening from a 15-year coma. Thursday morning, I got a call from Mom. Margaret, I've been accepted into a transitional housing program. It's not much, but it's a start. That's good news, Mom. I also applied for Social Security and food stamps. The social worker says I might qualify for job training programs too. How do you feel about that? Embarrassed, scared, but also maybe a little proud. I haven't taken care of myself in so long, I'd forgotten I could. You can, Mom. You're more capable than you let yourself believe. Margaret, I know I don't deserve to ask this, but would you be willing to have lunch with me sometime? Not to ask for money, she added quickly. Just to talk. To try to rebuild something between us that isn't about money. I thought about it. Mom had acknowledged her mistakes, was taking steps to build an independent life, and was asking for a relationship instead of a transaction. Maybe in a few months, I said, after you've had some time to establish your new normal. I'll wait as long as it takes. Friday afternoon, I was cleaning out some old files when I found a photo I'd forgotten about. It was from Derek's college graduation, me, him, Mom, and Dad, all smiling in front of the administration building. I looked so young, so happy to be helping my little brother succeed. I stared at that photo for a long time, mourning the family I thought I had, the relationships I thought were real. Then I put the photo in the shredder and went back to work. 3 weeks later, Derek pleaded guilty to all charges and was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison. The judge also ordered him to pay full restitution, $1.6 million, though everyone knew he'd never be able to pay it. Sarah filed for divorce while he was in prison. She and the kids moved to Tennessee permanently, where she got a full-time nursing job and started rebuilding their lives. Mom completed the transitional housing program and got a part-time job as a receptionist at a dental office. She moved into a small apartment and started attending a support group for people recovering from financial codependency. Apparently, that's a real thing. As for me, I got a promotion at work, senior vice president, with a significant salary increase. I bought a smaller house in a gated community with excellent security. I started traveling again, something I hadn't done in years because I was always worried about family emergencies. I also started dating. Turns out, when you're not constantly stressed about family drama and financial demands, you're much more attractive to emotionally healthy people. 6 months after Derek went to prison, I was having dinner with my new boyfriend Marcus when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Margaret, it's Derek. I almost hung up immediately, but something in his voice stopped me. I'm calling from prison. He said, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to tell you something. I'm listening. I'm sorry. Really, genuinely sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Not sorry things didn't work out. Sorry for what I did to you. Sorry for stealing from you, lying to you, manipulating you. Okay, I've been in therapy here, and I'm starting to understand how much I hurt you. How much we both hurt you. You didn't deserve any of it. No, I didn't. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything from you ever again. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry. I believed him. For the first time in his adult life, Derek sounded like he was taking full responsibility for his actions. Derek, yeah, I hope you get the help you need, and I hope you find a way to be a good father to your kids when you get out. Me too. But Derek, don't ever contact me again. Don't ask for money. Don't ask for help. Don't ask for a relationship. I'm done. I understand. I hung up and turned back to Marcus, who'd been listening quietly. Your brother? He asked. Former brother. How do you feel? Free. And I was. For the first time in 15 years, I was completely, totally free. I'd learned that family isn't about blood or obligation or guilt. Real family is about mutual respect, genuine love, and reciprocal support. The people who called themselves my family had never treated me like family. They'd treated me like a resource to be exploited. It took me 15 years and $1.6 million to learn that lesson, but it was worth every penny. Now I have a life that belongs to me, a home that's truly mine, money that I spend on things I value, relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial obligation. I have Emma and Tyler's college funds set up, and I see them twice a year when Sarah brings them to visit. They're thriving in their new life, and they'll never have to worry about their father's mistakes affecting their future. I even have coffee with Mom occasionally. She's learned to live on her salary, she's made friends at work, and she's discovered that she's actually pretty capable when she's not being supported by someone else. Our relationship is still fragile, still careful, but it's real in a way it never was before. As for Derek, he'll be released next year. He'll face a world where he has to support himself, where he has to be responsible for his own choices, where he can't fall back on family money to fix his mistakes. It might be the best thing that ever happened to him. People ask me sometimes if I regret cutting off my family, if I miss the closeness we used to have. The truth is we never had closeness. We had a financial transaction disguised as love. Real closeness requires honesty, respect, and reciprocity. We never had any of those things. What I have now is better than anything I had before. I have peace, independence, and relationships with people who value me for who I am rather than what I can provide. I have a life worth living, and I don't owe anyone an apology for protecting it. Sometimes the best thing you can do for family is stop enabling them. Sometimes love means letting people face the consequences of their actions. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is refuse to give anymore. I learned all of that from a simple nanny-cam that recorded someone whispering my name at the door. It exposed 15 years of lies, but it also revealed 15 years of truth I'd been too generous to see. The truth set me free, and I'm never going back.